awesome, yeah. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Yahuwah is the awesome Yah. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. I appreciate him for all that he's doing, all that he's done, and all that he's yet going to do. I pray that everyone had a good day on today, prosperous day on today, as we were out as well. I tell you, traffic. But we do appreciate our y'all. We're going to begin our class on tonight with the Baruch of the Torah. Excuse me. Repeat with me, Baruch Yahuwah.
Baruch Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch one.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch one.
For all eternity.
For all eternity.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Our supreme one.
Our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the universe.
Who selected us from all the peoples.
Who selected us from all the peoples.
And gave us his Torah.
And gave us his Torah.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Giver of the Torah.
Giver of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Our supreme one.
Our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the universe.
Who gave us the Torah of truth.
Who gave us the Torah of truth.
And implanted eternal life within us.
And implanted eternal life within us.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Giver of the Torah.
Giver of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Now we will have the reading of the Ten Commandments by Apostle Brown from the book of Leviticus, chapter 5, verses 6 through 22.
Aleph, I am Yahuwah your power, which brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim from the days of slavery. Then you shall have no other power before me. You shall not make you any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in Shemayim above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the man beneath the earth. You shall not bow down yourself unto them nor serve them. For I, Yahuwah your power, am a just power, visiting the iniquity of the hours of the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Gimel, you shall not take the name of Yahuwah your power and falsify it, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that takes his name and empties it. David, guard the Sabbath day to set it apart, as Yahuwah your power has commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah your power. In it you shall not do any work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your ox, nor your ass, nor any of your cattle, nor your foreigner that is within your gates, that your manservant and your maidservant may rest as well as you. And remember that you were a servant in the land of Mitzrayim, and that Yahuwah your power brought you out of there through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore Yahuwah your power commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. Hey, honor your Abba and your Ima as Yahuwah your power has commanded you, that your days may be prolonged and that it may go well with you in the land which Yahuwah your power is about to give you. 1, you shall not murder. Zain, neither shall you commit adultery. Het, neither shall you steal. Tet, neither shall you bear false witness against your neighbor. You, neither shall you desire your neighbor's wife, neither shall you covet your neighbor's bait, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, or anything that is your neighbor's. These words Yahuwah spoke unto all your assembly in the mount out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness with a great voice. And he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone and delivered them unto me. And it is so.
It is so.
Yahusha, the son of Nun, chapter 1, verse 7 and 8. We're going to read verse 7 and then we're going to recite verse 8. Only be you strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to all the Torah which Moshe my servant commanded you. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that you may prosper wherever you go. Verse 8, as I have tailored it to fit a time of confession. Repeat with me. I will not let this scroll of the Torah depart out of my mouth. But I shall meditate in it. Day and night. That I may observe to do. According to all that is written in it. But then I shall make my way prosperous. And act wisely. And act wisely. And look at your neighbor, tell your neighbor, you shall act wisely.
And you shall act wisely.
Look at your other neighbor, tell your other neighbor, and you shall act wisely. And you shall act wisely. Come on, look at your other neighbor, tell your other neighbor, you shall act wisely. And you shall act wisely. Take your hand and place it over your heart and say, Abba Yah, I shall act wisely. Come on, Abba Yah, I shall act wisely. Come on, I endeavor to act wisely. I endeavor to act wisely. I endeavor to act wisely. And it is so. And it is so. Excuse me. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 1 through 14 through 18. Sorry. It's a little short. Once again, that is Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 1 through 18. And it is so. And it reads, these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which Yahuwah your power commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land where you are going to enter and possess it, that you might fear Yahuwah your power to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command you, you and your son and your grandson, all the days of your life, and that your days may be prolonged. Hear, therefore, O Yisrael, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah power of your Abbas has promised you, in the land full with milk and honey. Hear, O Yisrael, Yahuwah our supreme one, Yahuwah is a God. Shema Yisrael, Yahuwah is our Savior, Yahuwah is a God. And you shall ahava Yahuwah your supreme one with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your bed, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes, to fall, to bind to the mind. And you shall write them upon the posts of your bed and on your gates. And it shall be when Yahuwah your power shall have brought you into the land which he swore unto your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give you great cities which you did not build, houses full of all great things which you filled not, and wells dug which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant. When you shall have eaten and be full, then beware, lest you forget Yahuwah which brought you forth out of the land of Mitzrayim, from the bed of slavery. You shall fear Yahuwah your power and serve him, and shall swear by his name. You shall not go after the power of the people which are round about you. For Yahuwah your power is a jealous power among you, lest the anger of Yahuwah your power be kindled against you, and he destroy you from off the face of the earth. You shall not tempt Yahuwah your power as you tempted him in Massah. You shall diligently keep the commandments of Yahuwah your power, and his testimonies and his statutes which he has commanded you. And you shall do that which is great in the sight of Yahuwah, that it may be well with you, and that you might go in and possess the great land which Yahuwah swore unto your fathers. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Let us have it. So. Yahuwah, I thirst for you, and I long to be in your presence. My soul will wait on you. Abba, draw me nearer, draw me nearer to the beauty of your Ruah. Yahuwah, I thirst for you, and I long to be in your presence. My soul will wait on you. Abba, draw me nearer, draw me nearer to the beauty of your Ruah. Yahuwah, I thirst for you, and I long to be in your presence. My soul will wait on you. Abba, draw me nearer, draw me nearer to the beauty of your Ruah. Yahuwah, I thirst for you, and I long to be in your presence. My soul will wait on you. Abba, draw me nearer, draw me nearer to the beauty of your Ruah. I will wait for you, oh Yahuwah, in the beauty of your Ruah. I will worship you, oh Yahuwah, in the beauty of your Ruah. I will wait for you, oh Yahuwah, in the beauty of your Ruah. I will worship you, oh Yahuwah, in the beauty of your Ruah. Yahuwah, I thirst for you, and I long to be in your presence. My soul will wait on you. Abba, draw me nearer, draw me nearer to the beauty of your Ruah. Yahuwah, I thirst for you, and I long to be in your presence. My soul will wait on you. Abba, draw me nearer, of your Ruach. Yahuwah, I thirst for you, and I long to be in your presence. My soul will wait on you. Abba, draw me nearer, draw me nearer to the beauty of your Ruach. Yahuwah, I thirst for you, and I long to be in your presence. My soul will wait on you. Abba, draw me nearer, draw me nearer to the beauty of your Ruach. Yahuwah, I thirst for you, and I long to be in your presence. My soul will wait on you. Abba, draw me nearer, draw me nearer to the beauty of your Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Come on, praise him, praise him. He's worthy, you're worthy. Hallelujah, hallelujah. I thirst for you in a dry and barren land. I thirst for you, Abba. I thirst for you. Hallelujah. I will wait for you, mighty Yah, in the beauty of your Ruach, your Ruach Kodesh. Hallelujah, hallelujah. I honor him so much. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. He's so awesome. He's just so awesome. Yes, he is. And no matter how many times and how many words we say, it just seems like it's never enough words. It's never, the dictionary is not large enough. There are no words that can truly describe his beauty, that can really describe who he is. And sometimes it's hard. To find the right words to say, if there's even such. But he's awesome.
Yes, he is.
He's awesome to me. He is consistent and he's diligent. And sometimes there's just not enough words, and they're not, well, I can't find the words sometimes to express how much I truly do appreciate him and how much my heart longs to truly be in his presence because he's so worthy. He's so worthy. He's worthy of all our praise. Yes, he is. He's worthy. You're worthy, Hallelujah. All the time. All the time, he's worthy. Mishlei 15:8 says, the sacrifices of the wicked is an abomination, hateful, and exceedingly offensive unto you, Yahweh. But the prayer of the upright, it is your delight. Mishlei 3:4, so shall we find great understanding and high esteem in the sight and judgment of Yahuwah and man, and it is so.
And it is so.
Tehillim 1:1, the root is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the unrighteous, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the instruction of Abiyah, and he doth meditate on it, and it is so.
And it is so.
Hebrews 11:6, but without belief it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Yahuwah must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. It takes belief to be our obedient, diligent disciple. Tehillim 34:15, the eyes of Yahuwah are upon the upright, and his ears are open unto our cry. The upright cry, and Yahuwah heareth and delivereth us out of all our troubles. Acts 1:8, but we shall receive power after that the Ruach HaKodesh has come upon us, and we shall be witnesses unto him both in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria and unto the uttermost part of the earth, and it is so.
And it is so.
Ayah 33:4, which is Job 33:4, the Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. Somebody says he's a life giver.
He's a life giver.
Say it again, he's a life giver.
He's a life giver.
Yes, he is. Micah 4:8, but truly I am full of power by the Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah, and of judgment and of might to declare unto Yisrael, unto Yaakov his transgression, and to Yisrael his sin. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. And it is truly so. Yehukin and Aleph chapter 5 verse 4 and 5, for whatsoever is born of Yahuwah overcometh the world, and this is the victory that overcometh the world. Even I will believe. Who is he that overcometh the world? But he that believeth that Yahushua is the son of Yahuwah. I believe, I am a believer. Yehukin and Aleph chapter 2 verse 5 and 6, but whoever keeps his Torah, truly the Yahweh of Yahuwah is perfected in him. By this we know that we are in him. Verse 6, he who says he abides in him ought himself to walk just as he walked, and it is so.
And it is so.
Verse 17, and the world passes away and the lust thereof, but he that doeth the will of Yahuwah abideth forever. Somebody say he abideth forever.
Abideth forever.
Say it again, abideth forever.
Abideth forever.
Yehukin and Moshiach, which is Mark 11:24 in the English. Therefore I say unto you, what things soever ye desire when you pray, believe that you shall receive them, and ye shall have them. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Once again, another one of my important sayings, and it's important to us as a people. When belief is broken down, the foundation of our Ruach life gives way, and the entire structure of our experience in him falls. This is why it is so important that we guard the Torah and guard our experience with him, so that we never ever have to worry about our belief being broken down. Now, I didn't say it wouldn't be tried and tested, but never let it be broken down, because anything gets broken down has to go through what? Repair. And so this is why we study and we continually maintain our walk in the writings, because we want to maintain a healthy relationship with him. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Let's keep a healthy relationship with him. Yehukin and Aleph 4:4, ye are of Yahuwah little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. And it is so.
And it is so.
Acts 6:4, but we will give ourselves continually to prayer and to the ministry of the Torah. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Let's have another song, please.
Oh yeah, we praise you. Oh yeah, we magnify you. Oh high in all the earth. Oh, yeah, we magnify you and Baruch you that name. Oh, yeah, we lift your name up high in all the earth. High in all the earth. Oh, yeah, we praise you. Oh, yeah, we magnify you. Oh, yeah, we lift your name up high in all the earth. Oh, yeah, we magnify you and Baruch you know that name. Oh, yeah, we lift your name up high in all the earth. High in all the earth. Oh, yeah, we praise you. Oh, yeah, we magnify you. Oh, yeah, we lift your name up high in all the earth. Oh, yeah, we magnify you and Baruch you know that name. Oh, yeah, we lift your name up high in all the earth. High in all the earth. Oh, yeah, we praise you. Oh, yeah, we magnify you. Oh, yeah, we lift your name up high in all the earth. Oh, yeah, we magnify you and Baruch you know that name. Oh, yeah, we lift your name up high in all the earth. High in all the earth. Oh, yeah, we praise you. Oh, yeah, we magnify you. Oh, yeah, we lift your name up high in all the earth. Oh, yeah, we magnify you and Baruch you know that name. Oh, yeah, we lift your name up high in all the earth. High in all the earth. Oh, yeah, we praise you. Oh, yeah, we magnify you. Oh, yeah, we lift your name up high in all the earth.
11, verses 13 through 22. And it reads, "And it shall come to pass, if you listen carefully to my commandments, which I command you this day, to Ahava Yahuwah your power, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, that I will give you the rain of your land in its due season, the first rain and the latter rain, that you may gather in your corn and your wine and your oil. And I will send grass, in your fields for your cattle, that you may eat and be full. Take heed to yourselves that your heart be not deceived, and you turn aside and serve other power and worship them. And then Yahuwah's wrath be ignited against you, and he shut up Shemayim, that there be no rain, and that the land yield not her fruit. Unless you perish quickly from off the great land which Yahuwah gives you. Therefore shall ye lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes, to fall, to bind to the mind. And you shall teach them your children, speaking of them when you sit in your bed, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall write them upon the doorposts of your bed and upon your gates, that your days may be multiplied in the days of your children in the land which Yahuwah swore to your fathers to give them, as the days of Shemayim upon the earth." Verse 22 says, "For if you shall carefully keep all these commandments which I command you, to do them to Ahab Yahuwah your power, to walk in all his halakha, his commandments, and to cling unto him." Verse 23 summed up with one word: victory. We will have the victory. Even in this land, we will still have the victory. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. As we come to this portion of our time of class, let us say our declaration for tonight, which will take us into our Sabbath on Yom Shabbat. Excuse me. Repeat with me: Abba Yah, in the name of Yahusha,
In the name of Yahushua,
our Mashiach,
our Mashiach,
we subdue ignorance
we subdue ignorance
with Torah knowledge.
with Torah knowledge.
And through this knowledge
And through this knowledge
of Torah truth,
of Torah truth,
we claim healing,
we claim healing,
shalom,
shalom,
deliverance,
deliverance,
and salvation.
and salvation.
We decree
We decree
Torah truth
Torah truth
in the lives
in the lives
of your people,
of your people,
our people,
our people.
Yisrael.
Yisrael.
We unite
We unite
not to fight
not to fight
each other,
each other,
but the enemy
but the enemy
of our belief.
of our belief.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Now let us bow before our King as we seal our praise, our prayers, and our confession with this. May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you,
be desirable before you,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock
my rock
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you,
be desirable before you,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock
my rock
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. We have just recited Tehillim 19 and 15, and it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. You may be seated in his presence. Once again, I appreciate Abba Yah for all that he's doing, all that he's done, and all that he's yet going to do as he continues to keep us throughout the day, throughout the week, and throughout every second, every minute, every moment of our lives. There was a song by his name Smokey Norfolk, and he was singing not a minute, not an hour or a day goes by without him saying how much he appreciates and how much he hogs Abba Yah. As Yasmin for my own control, not control, for my power forward, for my total. That he appreciated him. And so I do too. I understand the concepts of the song, even though the name was misplaced. I still understand the concept. And so I appreciate Abba Yah for his ahab towards us and his compassion and his mercies being renewed upon us daily as we continue to move forward. On tonight, we want to turn our attention to the book of Shema, and we will be in this book excuse me, which is Exodus chapter 27. We're going to begin with verse 20. But I want to give our theme for this week. Our weekly Torah reading is Tetzaweh. You shall command. You shall command. And so on tonight or this week in our Sabbath class, we're going to understand you shall command. We're going to see what it is that Abba Yah has given unto Moshe to command the children of Yisrael to do. Last week we looked at and we went over the teachings of contribution. Shema chapter 25 verses 1 through chapter 27 verse 19, and it spoke about the contribution and how the children of Yisrael, those that had a willingness and had a heart, would contribute to the building of the temple and the Ark of the Covenant of Abba Yah. And so we understand that this request or this contribution came from those that had a heart to do it. And so Abba Yah requested of the help. And so we read and we saw how those that gave, they gave gold and what was expected of them. It wasn't just something they could bring but it was what was requested of them, and everyone that it was requested of fulfilled their obligation or their duty. Those that said, yes, we will do it. So they did exactly what was asked of them. Now tonight we're going to look at you shall command. We're going to look at what's being commanded here in Shema chapter 27. And you haven't said this. 20.
Sons shall order it in the evening and morning before the Lord. It shall be a statute forever unto their generations on behalf of the children of Israel.
And it is so. Now, let's look at that. Look at verses 20 and 21. And you shall command the children of Yisrael that they bring you pure oil of pressed olives for the light, to cause the lamp to burn continually. Not just any lamp, but the menorah, because that was what stood in the tabernacle, and that was what was used for light continually. Now, one of the things that is important is that he said, command the children of Yisrael that they bring pure olive oil. That meant everybody was to partake of this. This was not like in chapter 25 where he requested those that would have a willing heart to do so. This was commanded, or this was supposed to be the responsibility of all the children of Yisrael. And they were not just to bring any kind of oil. They were to bring pure oil of pressed olives for the what? Light. That meant that it couldn't just be any kind of light any kind of oil for the menorah. It had to be that. It couldn't be grapeseed oil. It couldn't be a mixture of oil. It had to be pure oil. I believe when we look at verse 20, we ought to look at also that we cannot have the Torah mixed with anything else in our lives. That we have to have the pure Torah in our lives in order for us to shine bright at all times.
That's right.
And so it's important that we understand that. In the tabernacle of the congregation, outside the veil, which is before the testimony, Haran and his sons shall tend it from evening until morning before Yahuwah. It shall be a statute forever to their generations on behalf of the children of Yisrael. Once again, let's look at what it did. It said, Haran and his sons shall tend it from evening until morning before Yahuwah. It shall be a statute forever to their generations on behalf of the children of Yisrael. Now, once again, you have to understand that light must remain burning, and that light burns in us.
That's right.
We have to make sure that the light continually burns and that it never goes out. Because we are, you can look at us in one sense as being like the menorah. We shine. No matter where we are, we shine. And we shine in the tabernacle as well as outside of the tabernacle. So it's important that we understand we are never to ever let our light go out.
Right.
And it is so.
And it is so.
All right, let's read, start at chapter 28, starting at verse 1, please. And let's read, let's read the 5 verses.
And it is so. Shema chapter 28. Now take Aharon your brother and his sons with him, from among the children of Yasser, that he may minister to me as Kohen. Aharon and Aharon's sons, Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. And you shall make set apart garments of Aharon for your brother, for esteem and for beauty. So you shall speak to all who are gifted artisans, whom I have filled with the Ruach of wisdom, that they may make Aharon's garments to consecrate him, that he may minister to me as Kohen. And these are the garments which they shall make: a breastplate, an ephod, a robe, a skillfully woven tunic, a turban, and a sash. So they shall make set apart garments for Aharon your brother and his sons, that he may minister to me as Kohen. They shall take the gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine linen. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, once again, they were giving a description of how it was supposed to be done. Not just anybody could prepare their garments. Their garment had to be prepared a specific way. And he said, now take Haran, your brother, and his sons with him from among the children of Yasrael, that he may minister to me as Kohen. And it means priest. Haran and Haran's sons, Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. And you shall make a set apart garments, and you shall make set apart garments for Haran your brother, for beauty for them. So you shall speak to all who are gifted artisans, whom I have filled with the Ruach of wisdom, that they may make Haran's garments to consecrate him, that he may minister to me as Kohen. Once again, let's look at the things that had to be, that were most important. You shall speak to all who are gifted artisans. Everybody was not gifted to do this.
That's right.
Listen what gave that gave you the know that they were not all, because he said, whom I have filled with the Ruach. That means they were filled with the Ruach of wisdom, that they may make Haran's garments to consecrate him. So that meant everybody, just because you might could sew, was not consecrated for that task.
Right.
Yahuwah's priests are set apart and must be consecrated to accept and teach Yahuwah's Torah. Everybody cannot teach.
That's right.
I'm saying again, everybody cannot teach.
Right.
You have to be consecrated to teach, and you don't call yourself to teach, he calls you to teach, regardless of how people may like it or not like it.
That's right.
It's one of those things, and it is so.
And it is so.
And look at, and these are the garments. Look at verse 4. And these are the garments which they shall make: a breastplate, an ephod, a robe, a skillfully woven tunic or a turban, and a sash. So they shall make a set apart garment for Haran your brother and his sons, that he may minister to me as Kohen priest. Now let's look at this, a turban. Now, head coverings are a commandment for all, not just the high priest. Now that's a whole another teaching in that. And the reason I say that is because he told them to wear this during their time of ministry. And we're going to see where he tells them when they finish ministry to take those set apart garments off. So you don't keep your garments, your set apart garments on at all times.
That's right.
And we're going to see that. There's a time that they would have to go out and be in the midst of the people, and they had to take all the garments off. So the garments were used, are you understanding me, to minister before Abiyah, and then when they got among the people, they changed their garments. All right? I read that so we can see what the footnote would be. Once again, that's something we will touch on again later on in this teaching. Now, they shall take the gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine linen. And they shall make the ephod of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine woven linen, artistically worked. In other words, they needed to know how to take gold, blue, and scarlet thread and fine linen. Now you have to understand, when you say gold, they had to be able to take gold and make it thin enough to where they would be able to sew with it.
That's right.
They had to be able to take that gold and press it out, either cut it, roll it, however they did it, but they were anointed to be able to take it and thread it and be able to sew with it,
Right.
so that it would be woven into fine linen. Now, once again, you have to understand it. When you look at a lot of the tallits, I don't wear my because of this, I had to change. But anyway, and so, but when you look at the tallits, the ones that are blue and white and gold, you'll see the reason that gold is in there, or the thread that looks gold, is because that was a part of it was a part of the fine linen, and it was supposed to be put in there. Are you understanding?
Yes.
So when you look at the tallit and people wear them, that is also what they want you to reflect back on, is when they made, because we don't wear the ephod anymore. And they shall make the ephod of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine woven linen, artistically worked. So when you see with them with the tallit on, and you see the gold, and you see the white, and you see the blue, this is what it represents. Are you understanding? That prayer shawl. Okay? Now listen what it says. And it shall have 2 shoulder straps joined at its 2 edges, and so it shall be joined together. This is what they were supposed to wear when they went before Abba Yah in the tabernacle at that time. Y'all understanding me?
Yes.
And the intricately woven band of the ephod, which is on it, shall be of the same workmanship, made of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine woven linen. Once again, everything had to be done in a certain manner. Everything had to be done exactly how the instructions were given to them. Anything that would be different to it would throw it off and make it unacceptable. So they couldn't just wear anything. They had to wear exactly what was given to them to wear. Are you following me?
Yes.
That's important to us. All right. Let's read 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. And so, you got it?
Yes.
You got it. I'm letting him read it. You can read next. Come on.
Then you shall take 2 onyx stones and engrave them on the names of the sons of Jeshua, 6 of their names on 1 stone, and the remaining 6 names on the other stone according to their birth. With the work of an engraver in stone, like the engravings of the sacred. You shall engrave 2 stones with the names of the sons of Jeshua. You shall set them in settings of gold. And you shall put the 2 stones on the shoulders of the ephod as memorial stones for the sons of Joshua. So Aharon shall bear their names before Yahuwah on his 2 shoulders as memorial. You shall also make settings of gold. And you shall make 2 chains of pure gold like braided cords, and fasten the braided chains to the settings. 15. You shall make a breastplate of judgment, artistically woven, according to the workmanship of the ephod. You shall make it of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen. You shall make it.
It's so. And it's so. Hold on. Now, let's look at this, because I want to read this too. I want to read something over with this. Now, we find that Yahushua, who is now our high priest, only carries the names of the 12 tribes. He does not carry on his breastplate the names of any church denomination such as Baptist, Methodist, Pentecostal, or other. Anyone who is not in Yisrael and on Yahusha's ephod is out of Yisrael and considered a Gentile, publican, and a tax collector, which are all derogatory terms simply to indicate unbelievers. Once again, this is why when you get to looking at in the writings, when you see when it is really referring to us as a people, we are heaped in the same category as Gentiles, because in that state we were not, when we were not worshiping Him and esteeming Him and living according to the instructions, we were called Gentiles because we were unbelievers, because we were living in the manner that the Gentiles live. So we didn't live that way. But I want to read this to you to show the chosen was arranged with 4 rows of 3 stones, talking about how they put that in there. Each stone was inscribed with 6 letters representing a name of a tribe of Yisrael for a total of 72 letters. Row 1, Reuben, which was ruby, Simeon, which was topaz, and Luai, which was garfinkel. Row 2, Yehuda, which is carbuncle, Issachar, sapphire, and Zebulun, pearl. It almost sounds like birthstones, doesn't it? You start talking about months, and you start talking about birthstones. Row 3, Dan, which is Jacinth, Naphtali, Agate, and Gad, crystal. Asher, row 4, Asher, emerald, Yosef, onyx, and Benjamin, Yashnah, an unknown stone. Now, once again, these are the English renderings of these stones. So once again, when you look at it, each one of them had a stone that was placed in it. That's why when you see the 12 tribes, there are stones, and each one of those stones represented a time. This is where you get most of the time. Once again, you always are going to see when you look at the different months, like the month of June is represented by a pearl. The month of July is represented with a ruby. So you see that a lot of the same things we see was taken or synchronized. Okay, you see that, and when you look at the breastplate of the priest, you see there are 12 stones in it. The breastplate, you have the back and then you have the front, and the breastplate was pure gold, and each one of those stones were real stones. I'm not talking about artificial stones, I'm talking about rare stones. And according to some of the theologians, they said the way they were able to get the stones were when they were in Mitzrayim, they dug them up, and in different places they found the stones, and that's where, and then the gold that they were able to get from the Mitzrayim, and the silver. So a lot of stuff they had gathered while they were in Mitzrayim, and the stones also. So you see, once again, and each one of these stones represented their birth month. Okay? Now, once again, when we look at it in, again, we see that Yahusha, being our high priest, only carries the names of the 12 tribes. So that means he carries us, not just in the breastplate, because the breastplate represented them being close to the heart. But that's where Yahusha carries us because of Yahuwah. We're carried in his heart. That's where we are carried in his heart. Okay? All right. Now, once again, it's important that we understand. And he just didn't put it in anything. He made sure that everything he did, the symbolism was always so phenomenal, because it always showed compassion. You have to understand, gold is very expensive. Right. Pure gold. Not, once again, not this gold that is 10 karat, because 10 karat really has no weight. 24 karat really is not no weight. When you have pure gold can be molded. Pure gold can be rolled around. Pure gold can actually be shaped. But in order to keep it from being shaped or shaped and keep it shaped, they have to put another kind of material or metal in it. And most of the time, they may put silver in it. They may put another metal in it. And that is what decreases its carat weight. Or because it's not pure. But pure gold can be molded. And so he had it molded and he had it set to where each one according to the birth and according to the oldest and the youngest, it was put in there. And that's amazing. They don't know, or some don't know what the stone was for Benjamin, because it does not say. Not from what I see on here. It says Yashne, an unknown stone, an unknown stone. So once again, it's Yashne. I think it's Yashne, an unknown stone. Benjamin, it's the last stone. Okay. Yeah, because it says it's an unknown stone. Yeah, for Benjamin, because he is the last one on here. And I know these are English names for these stones. But just to give us a understanding, there were stones, real genuine stones, in that breastplate.
Right.
And so, and it represented the 12 tribes. All right. Now, when you look at, once again, let's look at verse 10. 6 of their names on one stone, and the remaining 6 on the other stone. And look what it says as we continue to read. With the work of an engraver in stone, like the engravings of a signet, you shall engrave the 2 stones with the names of the sons of Yasrael. You shall set them in settings of gold, and you shall put the 2 stones on the shoulders of the ephod as a memorial. Now you had also 2 stones with both names of the tribes on both sides split. You had 6 on one side, 6 on the other side. That's a lot. Do you understand what I'm saying? They had them here, and then they had it on the breastplate. That meant that we were never to be forgotten.
That's right.
Never to be forgotten. And so once again, we can look at this, and if you have to understand, and the concept of understanding this is, if Abiyah went through that much in that time, so the high priest would never forget his purpose of going in and interceding for Yasrael, because every time you put it on, there would be a weight on your shoulders. There would be a weight that was upon your chest, which would be upon your heart, to always remember your purpose for going in the tabernacle. Was listening to some old songs that were created by Deshaun, and one of them says, on my knees praying for the sinner. Every time I go on my knees, I'm praying for the sinner. Which, when we come to understand the importance of prayer, we don't just pray for us for and no more. Our prayer should duly be, we're praying for the prostituting sheep. And not just the prostituting sheep, but for those that are yet standing in truth. Because we all need prayer. If anybody ever tell you they don't need prayer, something wrong with them. Because we all need prayer, whether they are in the prostituting state or they're in the state of living in truth and they are doing everything they know how. No matter what, we still need prayer. And once again, we are responsible for praying for one another. And it is so. Now look what he said, as a memorial. And we know what a memorial is. A memorial is never to be done away with. You shall also make settings of gold, and you shall make 2 chains of pure gold like braided cords, and fasten the braided chains to the setting. Now you have to understand, this is also where we come to understand the seats, the braided chains, the braided cords, because it's connected. Are you understanding?
Yes.
Now, you shall make the breastplate of judgment, artistically woven according to the workmanship of the ephod. You shall make it of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen. You shall make it. Now listen what he said in verse 16. It shall be doubled into a square. 9 inches shall be its length, and 9 inches shall be its width. Now once again, you have to understand we're talking about like a box. Now that takes some artwork, and it's not just any kind of artwork. You have to understand, we know that when we look at different ones that, people have tried to duplicate it. But I truly believe that nobody can really duplicate what was not given to them. Because remember, this was a special assignment by Abiyah, and only those he anointed and gave the wisdom to be able to do this were able to do it.
That's right.
Nobody else. But I believe people come close, but close can't get it.
Right.
Because he would never ever give it, I don't believe, just to anybody, just to be able to duplicate it again. Now, the Ibn word zereth usually indicates half a cubit or a handbreadth, translated as a span in most translations. So if you put it like this, which my hand is not, and the breastplate you will see like that. So you have it here, here, and then flip it over the back. But it was large enough to fit. Are you following me? To cover. It wasn't too small and it wasn't too big. It was the right fit. All right? Now, let's look at verse 17. 17, 18, 19, and 20. Let's read 21 too. And it's so, come on.
And you shall put settings of stones in it, 4 rows of stones. The first row shall be a sardius, a topaz, and an emerald. This shall be the first row. The second row shall be a turquoise, a sapphire, and a diamond. The third row, a jacinth, and agate, and amethyst. And the fourth row, a beryl, and onyx, and jasper. They shall be set in gold setting.
Now, hold on. Now, as I read to you from this, which gives us a different type of the different type of emeralds. Now, for crystal, that's supposed to be a diamond. All right, the rose, the stones, these are stones. This is just a different translation of it. First row shall be sardius, a topaz, and an emerald. This shall be the first row. Now, each one of these are very expensive. Not saying crystal is not, but look what it says in this Abrahamic covenant writings. The second row shall be a turquoise, a sapphire, and the diamond. Whereas in this rendering, it says crystal. It says a crystal, okay? The third row, a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row, a beryl, an onyx, and jasper. They shall be set in gold settings. Once again, all of them were not artificial, because I believe crystal is different. Crystal is a different type of stone. Diamond you get from the earth. I believe all of these stones here you get from the earth. I'm not really sure where crystal comes from. It comes from the earth? Okay. But I know diamonds are more expensive than crystal. So once again, each one of these are different, but you have different rendings that give a different, pearl comes from the sea, a different emerald or a different gem for each one, according to the different, like say different people, different interpretations, and so forth. And it is so. All right, come on, let's read verse 21.
And the stones shall have the names of the sons of Yasmin, 12 according to their names, like the engravings of a city, each one with its own name. It shall be according to the 12 tribes.
And it is so. Now, once again, you have to understand, whenever there's real, there's always fake. Now, you know, also there are also 12 months, 12 stones. You have the zodiac. And once again, we don't follow zodiac. But you have all of that. And then you have what Abiyah told the high priest to do. And he told them exactly what to do. But he didn't tell them that for everybody to do what? Go grab your birthstone and wear it.
That's right.
The only person was supposed to do that was the high priest. Now, once again, you're going to always have that where they try to bring syncretism and always try to take it and either make it one or separate it and have its own set apart purpose. Now, once again, when you look into the world today, you see where all these things are set up, what they call, not moon rings, but they call, once again, month stones or birth stones. Birth stones. You have to understand what the enemy did. The enemy took that and he began to use it. And so now people basically go by their birthstone. Well, my birthstone is this. And most of the time when they say they go by birthstone, they also go by the what? Zodiac. If they say, this is my month, I was born in this month, and I fall under the sign of what? If you notice, he said the 12 tribes of Yisrael. He never said go according to the zodiac or even the Masoret. He said according to the 12 tribes. And that reason was so that when the high priest put it on, it would always be a memory. And it will always show who they were according to their stones. But the enemy took it and he's ran with it, and a lot of people follow it and they think it's okay, and it's not. This is where it originated at, right here. Now, let's read what it says. Let's start at verse 22, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. And it's so.
And you shall make braided chains of corded work for the breastplate at the end of clean gold. And you shall make 2 rings of gold for the breastplate, and shall put the 2 rings on the 2 ends of the breastplate. And you shall put the 2 cords of gold in the 2 rings which are on the ends of the breastplate. Verse 25. And the other 2 ends of the 2 cords you fasten to the 2 settings, and put them on the shoulder pieces of the shoulder garment in the front. And you shall make 2 rings of gold, and shall put them on the 2 ends of the breastplate, on the edge of it, which is on the inner side of the shoulder garment. And you shall make 2 rings of gold, and put them on the 2 shoulder pieces underneath the shoulder garment, on the front of it, close to the seam, above the embroidered band of the shoulder garment. And it is so.
And it is so. All this was, it had to be gold, and this was to hold it in place. So you got the rings that hold the chains, that hold all that. So all of it would hold. Everything they had on was pure gold and real gems. They didn't have any artificial things on them. All this, when they stood before Abiyah, they had to have it. Everything had to be exactly done in the manner it was supposed to be. And from the picture that they have, this is a gorgeous piece right here. Once again, I believe that those that made it in that time, there were other things. I believe that everything is put in here, but I believe that there were certain things that were left out.
Right.
That's me personally. And the reason I say that, because you will always have somebody trying to duplicate it and trying to wear it and trying to do stuff that they are not supposed to do.
That's right.
So once again, I believe there were certain things that were put in it, and though people may try to duplicate it and try to get it exactly, they can't. Because most of the time they can't get their hands on pure gold like that to where they're able to shape it and mold it and put it in gold rings. And it's amazing that when they put it in these rings never warped. Pure gold now. These rings never warped. These rings never, you know, if you put on something and it's moldable, that it never bent, it never sagged, but it always maintained and kept its shape and never got out of shape. So once again, you have to understand there were certain things that I believe they did that we won't know. That's my personal opinion, that we won't know about. Because you will always have somebody trying to duplicate it.
That's right.
And it is so. All right, let's read 28, 29, 30, 31, 32.
They shall bind the breastplate by means of its rings to the rings of the ephod, using a blue cord so that it is above the intricately woven band of the ephod, and so that the breastplate does not come loose from the ephod.
Now, so that it does not come loose. But if you notice, look at that. And it says, and you shall use a blue cord so that it is above the intricately woven band of the ephod. I believe that when you see blue interwoven, that represents Yahusha, keeping it together. I truly do believe that that represents Yahusha. They shall bind the breastplate by means of its rings to the rings of the ephod using a blue cord. Because once again, this was right here. It was for them to always keep the children of Yisrael right here on their hearts. Always to keep a burden. Not a bad burden, but keep a burden for the children of Yisrael. To always remember their responsibility and their obligation for the children of Yisrael. And I believe that is the same responsibility that we have as the children of Yisrael. That we are responsible, and understand this. And it just does not apply to the high priest. Are you following me?
Yes.
Especially in the day and time we live in, because we know Yahusha is our high priest. And so because we are walking in, we're walking under the blood, in the blood, and he is our high priest, and we ought to do as he did. I believe that we ought to carry them on our shoulders and in our heart. But we don't do it using the garments. Are you following me?
Yes.
It is more in here. Because watch this. When they took those garments off, that's when they stopped remembering. When they failed to comply. You got to remember now, Yisrael, the priest, the high priest, went through a time or a transition where they stopped being obedient. When the priests, I believe, stopped holding their position, and when the children of Yisrael just got buck wild and did what they did, is because I believe when they took it off, there was no weight there. There was nothing to cause them to remember. But now we don't just remember because we wear it on a garment. We remember it because they're supposed to be in our hearts. They're supposed to be in our hearts at all times. So that by them being in our hearts, we are never ever supposed to forget or let it escape us. Our responsibility and our obligation to one another as the children of Yisrael. All right, let's read.
So Aharon shall bear the names of the sons of Yisrael on the breastplate of judgment over his heart. When he goes into the set apart place, as a memorial before Yahuwah continuously. And you shall put in the breastplate the judgment of the Urim and the Thummim, and they shall be over Aharon's heart when he goes in before Yahuwah. So Aharon shall bear the judgment of the children of Yisrael over his heart before Yahuwah continuously. You shall make the robe of the ephod all of blue. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, I want to read this, and this is something I had read before. It is a footnote. And this was how they said the Urim and the Thummim was used. And it said, and when they put the breastplate of judgment, the Urim and the Thummim, and they shall be over Haran's heart when he goes in before Yahuwah. So Haran shall bear the judgment of the children of Yisrael over his heart before Yahuwah continually. They said the reason why there were the stones is that the reason those stones were there is that when they would go in unto Abiyah, and once again, this is a footnote, and I'm just reading it because I do like to read the footnotes to put it out there, that they would light to give clarity or to give a yes or no answer. Now, once again, meaning lights, these two stones were drawn by the high priest to determine matters of difficulty. This was Yahuwah's lottery draw for him to say yes or no to a matter that the high priest could not give an answer to. It meant reflections. One stone was light and the other dark. Now, once again, you have to understand, but if these stones have the children of Yisrael's name on it, you have one stone that had 6, and then you had another stone that had 6. And so if it was one stone that was light and the other was dark, which stone was, they said the Thummim was the dark stone, and the Urim was the light stone. Once again, this is just a footnote, and I do read the footnotes and put them out there. And this is what they said, that when they went in, if there was a matter, or when they were outside and there was a matter that they themselves could not tend to, then what they would end up doing was it would light. It would light or say yes, and one would, I'm assuming, would be dark to signify no. That would be the answer. No, it cannot be done. Once again, these are a lot of the historians' beliefs, because what it says here. Now let's look at what it says in the writings. It says, and you shall put in the breastplate of judgment the Urim and the Thummim, and they shall be over Haran's heart when he goes in before Yahuwah. So Haran shall bear the judgment of the children of Yisrael over his heart before Yahuwah continually. It does not say or give an explanation for them. Once again, this is what many of the historians believe, that this was what it was used for. Okay?
Yes.
Once again, but it does not say here in the writings that was what it was for. He said that, so Haran shall bear the judgment of the children of Yisrael over his heart before Yahuwah continually. Are you following me?
Yes.
It said continually. It never said the function of it. It said that he was supposed to wear this over his heart continually. So that meant they were never ever supposed to forget the children of Yasrael. Are you following me?
Yes.
Now, once again, it does not go into any other explanation. Y'all follow me?
Yes.
So once again, that is the interpretation of those that believe that the stones would light up. Now, anybody remembers the game Simon Says?
Yes.
And it was on the little round thing, and when you played it, it would say Simon Says, and the colors would flash. Y'all remember that?
Yes.
They would flash. You can almost kind of look at that in your mind and kind of picture that. Once again, this is, I believe, once again, a interpretation of what people believe the stones would do, but there is nothing scripturally to back it up.
Right.
And once again, I do read the footnotes to put it out there. Nothing scripturally says that they would flash or that they would light up. Are you following me? Because let's look at it in this manner as well. Yahuwah said, I will speak with you. Now remember, even before the Ark of the Covenant was created, did not Abba Yah speak to Moshe?
Yes.
He spoke to him. And he gave him clarity, and he gave him instructions, and he gave him guidance. So once again, this is one of the meanings that they believed this was for. So once again, I put it out there. I believe if there were difficult matters, I believe that they had a relationship with Abba Yah, that when they were going to pray, that he would speak to them. That's why they were put in the tabernacle to serve him, so that he could minister to them on behalf of the children of Yasrael. Are you following me?
Yes.
Once again, it's important to understand that, because when we start looking at certain things, once again, you can also look at syncretism. Where did that come from? Where did that come from, that they would light up and that they would basically not show? He said that they would be on his heart. Why? Because that was to be a memorial. Once again, I believe it is the interpreter's view of it, not necessarily what I'll be used them for. All right, verse 31, 32, 33, and let's read 34. And we're going to stop. We'll read read a few more verses and then we're going to stop. All right, let's read.
Verse 31.
Mm-hmm.
You shall make the robe of the ephod all of blue. There shall be an opening for his head in the middle of it. You shall have a woven binding all around its opening, like the opening in a coat of mail, so that it does not tear.
Mm-hmm.
And upon its hem you shall make pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet, all around its hem, and bells of gold between them all around. A golden bell and a pomegranate, a golden bell and a pomegranate upon the hem of the robe all around. Verse 35. And it shall be upon Aharon when he ministers, and its sound will be heard when he goes into the set-apart place before Yahuwah, but when he comes out, that he may not die. And it is so.
And so now, they had that on there, so if they stopped hearing them bells, they knew to pull them out of there because they were dead, because their lives were not right before Yahuwah. So that meant when they went there ministering, if they didn't hear no tinkling, that meant get him out of there because he dead. He done went in there and he know he ain't right. So they'd have to hurry up and get him out of there because nothing dead can stay in his presence. Now, the pomegranate represented the fruitfulness of the children of Yasrael. It represented the fruitfulness of the children of Yasrael. Once again, when you look at everything that Abba Yah does, every symbol has significance. Everything he does has significance to it. He said when they put it on, it doesn't tear. That meant that when they would get into their clothing, now you know sometimes how we can get in our clothing and you're trying to get in it, not so much in a hurry, but sometimes you're putting it on and you can tear clothes. Even some of the stuff you don't believe can tear. Just let it snag on something and now it's snagged and it's torn. We have to understand, every time they went before him, their garments had to be perfect. They could not go in there with garments that were not perfect.
That's right.
Are you following me?
Yes.
Once again, we have to look at, just as we look at the utensils that are to be in the temple, that they had to be complete, they had to be perfect. So now as we present ourselves, I believe once again, everything that Abba Yah does was a symbol and was significant to our way of life now. That we can't just go into him any kind of way. We can't be raggedy. Are you understanding?
That's right.
You have to understand the veil was rent by Yahusha, so that means that because now we are in Yahuwah through Yahusha, and His blood covers us and gives us right and gives us access, your life still has to be right.
That's right.
You can't just go in any kind of way, because you still have to present yourself as a royal priesthood.
That's right.
That means we can't go in any kind of way. You can't do any kind of thing. You can't say any kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I remember before we started coming into truth, and I really was looking at this. I said, you know, when I would wear the robes, I said I would like to put some veils on mine and some pomegranates. Why? Because I said, you know, this is important, because this is a part of the garment, but you have to understand, even with the breastplate and all of those great things, the most important thing is that we have it here. Because, see, we watched the lives of our ancestors and forefathers, even though they wore the garments, because it was not in their heart, it wasn't written on their hearts, they still failed.
That's right.
Are you following me? So the important thing is that it be written on our hearts, that He takes the old stony heart out and gives us a heart of flesh that can be molded and can be written upon.
That's right.
A heart of stone cannot. So it's important that we understand that. Now, once again, it's important that we look at this, how gorgeous this is, but at the same time, the importance of them having it. Why? Because, once again, the fruitfulness, and also to make sure that when they ministered, they always made a sound.
That's right.
Because whenever that sound would stop, they knew. And trust me, there were times they had to pull people out because the bell stopped ringing.
That's right.
Because they died, because they were not right in the presence of Abba Yah. We don't want to go before Him once again or come into His presence. And you have to understand, you may not physically die right off, but you can die, your ruach can die if you step in His presence not right.
That's right.
And you'll begin to see the conditions of it, because you won't want Him like you used to. You won't want to do the things that you know that brings a healthy and a wholesome relationship. And then some people, I believe, will die immediately.
That's right.
Are you following me? Once again, you cannot just go into His presence any kind of way. A golden veil and a pomegranate, a golden veil and a pomegranate upon the hem of the robe all around. That meant it was all around, so every time they walked, them pomegranates, you have to understand, if you ever had a pomegranate, pomegranates are heavy.
Right.
And they have a lot of seeds in them. It is one of the greatest fruits, I believe. And that would avail. So you have to understand, when they went in there, they had to make sure their stuff was straight, because all of that stuff carried weight. You couldn't walk with it and not be reminded, why am I going in here? You couldn't walk and you couldn't lift your hands and not be reminded of, why am I in this place? I'm in this place because it is my position to present the children of Israel always to Abba Yah in prayer. You have to understand, when they were offering up, they had all that stuff on. So all of it was continually for who? The children of Israel.
That's right.
So we can't never forget. Now, it's not on here, but it's always supposed to be here. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Always supposed to be on our hearts, and we're always supposed to pray for them continuously. Remember in Luke 18:1, He says, men ought to always pray and not faint.
Yes.
That's not just talking about us praying and fainting over our situations. We should never faint over the condition of Yisrael. We should never get to the point where it looks hopeless and it seems bleak, like, are they going to ever come into the truth? Are they going to ever stop walking outside? Are they going to ever wake up and grasp what it is that belongs to us as a people?
Right.
We can't lose belief, and we can't lose heart because of the condition of our people.
That's right.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
All right. Let's read 41, 42, 43.
So, Shemot 28:41. Thou shalt put them upon Aaron thy brother and his sons with him, and shalt anoint them and consecrate them and sanctify them, that they may minister unto me in the priest's office. Thou shalt make them linen breeches to cover their nakedness, from the loins even unto the thighs they shall reach. And they shall be upon Aaron and upon his sons when they come in unto the tabernacle of the congregation, or when they come near unto the altar to minister in the holy place, that they bear not iniquity and die. It shall be a statute forever unto him and his seed after him. And it is so.
And it is so. Now listen how everything that He ministered, He said, and you shall anoint them, consecrate them, and sanctify them anoint them, consecrate them, sanctify them, that they may minister to me as priests. And you shall make for them linen trousers to cover their nakedness. They shall reach from the waist to the thighs. That meant they had boxers on. Because at that, you have to understand that meant that at a time they did not wear trousers. It meant that where they were, they just wore their clothing. But he said so that their nakedness could be covered, so they wore boxers. So that when they went, because you have to remember, they're ministering, going up and down, moving and doing, they had to be covered. So they couldn't just go in any kind of way. There was a certain way they had, once again, to prepare themselves. This is not an analogy, this is real. They had to be covered. They shall be on Aaron and on his sons when they come into the tabernacle of the congregation, or when they come near the altar to minister in the set apart place, that they do not incur iniquity and die. That meant they had to be covered. Because that meant that they walked around without them not on. Are you understand? But they had clothing that was appropriate.
That's right.
Understand? They wouldn't run around like a bush people. But they wore appropriate clothing, but it was inappropriate for the tabernacle. So that says to us that you're not supposed to just come in with anything on.
That's right.
Are you understand me? You know, there's a lot of things that go on where people come in and the clothing or the attire has to be straight. You don't want to have nothing hanging out. You want to have nothing where people can be able to look upon you. You may have clothes on, but you want to make sure people still can't look upon you and you look naked.
Right.
And it is so.
And it is so.
So it's important that we understand these things. Now watch what it says. It shall be a statute forever to him and his descendants after him. This was the way they were to govern themselves. Now someone may say, well, how does that affect us? Easy. There is a way that we are supposed to present ourselves unto our Yah. There is a way that we are supposed to conduct ourselves. We ought to always remember that we are in and upon the heart of Yahusha continually. Right? He said that he is seated at the right hand of the Yah, making intercession for us. And you have to understand, I believe that he has the stones on his heart that represents who we are, so that he will remember us. And remember, I believe that also that is on his shoulders. Why? Because he was our high priest. Not was, he is our high priest. He is still our high priest. Right. And he makes intercession for us. And he prays continually. We are always on his heart. This is why it's important for us never just to kick our ocular coat to the curb.
That's right. No
matter what position they may find themselves in. It is our responsibility and our obligation, not as a burden, but as a delight to make intercession for them. To intercede for the prostitutes, to intercede for the wayward, to intercede for those that are about to die. Strengthen that which remains and is about to die. Through prayer and through encouragement. So once again, we need to see not just, okay, that was then and that's what they used then, and so we don't have to worry about that now. Yes, because that's still a part of our lifestyle. Instead of it being on clothing, it is supposed to be on our hearts that are made of flesh and not stone.
That's right.
So that we be compassionate about those that are not walking as they should, and even those that are not that are walking but still got some work to have done on them.
Right.
They need some extra work. So we ought to always keep that in mind. And so it's important that we understand that. But when you picture the garment, once again, let's picture Yahusha in that garment, because he is our high priest.
That's right.
He is our high priest. And he goes before us and makes intercession for us. And we ought never to forget that. And we ought never to faint. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Rabbi Shaul said it in this manner. Yahuwah said it to him in this manner. He said to him, his strength is made perfect in his hour of weakness. So no matter how weak we may think we are, the strength of our Yah still is more than our weakness. Because he said it to us through Yahusha. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Everything Yahusha said were the words of our Yah to us as people. So it's important that we understand that. Once again, and he commanded them, the first thing he commanded them was to bring oil, so that the light would always, the menorah would always burn in the tabernacle. It is important that we look at the olive oil as the Torah, the instructions of our Yah that keeps us burning, keeps our light burning, keeps us vibrant, keeps us sober, keeps us vigilant, and not drunken. And then as we look at the high priest that came in, their lives, how their lives had to line up, and how each one of the stones represented, each one of the children of Yasrael had a stone, or the 12 tribes had a stone. And each one of those stones was precious, a precious gem or jewel that was placed in the breastplate of the high priest. Then there were 2 stones that had the tribes, one 6 in one stone and one on the other stone, and they were placed upon the shoulders of the high priest. They were placed upon the shoulders. Always to remember, you have to understand, whenever you think about shoulders, always think about government. Mm-hmm. Always think about order. Always think about responsibility. The responsibility of our people lies within us.
That's right.
A lot of people don't believe that, but it does.
Right.
It lies within us. Why? Because we are given to pray for them. We are given to support. We are given to encourage. That's what we're supposed to do.
Right.
If we lose that, then who's going to step in and do it? Who's going to step in and do it? Nobody. So don't expect somebody to do what we're supposed to do.
Right.
We're supposed to encourage one another. We're supposed to keep one another on our hearts.
Right.
Always. And so you have to understand, this is why they couldn't just tear it off. Because it was symbolic of you can't just take it off and you can't just discard it. When you took that thing off, you have to understand it was a hole big enough for them to get their head in. And it wasn't going to be no, I'm going to tear this off. It wasn't going to be no tear it off. But when they took it off, you have to understand, they could take it off, but when they took it off, it never lost its shape. It never was, could ever be deformed, or it could never be messed up. Because when Yahuwah gave them the wisdom to create it, it was created perfect. So whenever they stepped out of that, it wasn't that the uniform or that which was created for them to wear had issues. It was the one in it that had the issues. So whenever they came out of it and they stopped representing and doing, you could see why many of them took it off and why the children of Yasrael ended up becoming the state it was in. Why? Because it stopped being here. Now you have to understand something, and this is my just listen to me, my interpretation of it. I believe the weight of it was to always be a memory. You know what muscle memory is? Muscle memory is when you exercise and you exercise, and when you stop, guess what? It doesn't lose that because it becomes a memory that has been embedded in you. And I believe that when they wore the garment, that no matter what, even when they took it off, because of the weight of it, they still would feel it at all times. Right. Even though they may not have worn it. Because it was always supposed to be here. Once again, you ever lifted weights, when you finish, you always feel that on your shoulders. Or if you wear a backpack and you walk, or you put that, they put that sand in it, and they put it on their backs and they run with it to build endurance and to build memory, muscle memory. So when they take it off, they're like, man, I still feel the results of that. You will never forget that. We were never, ever supposed to forget, and neither were they.
That's right. Because
it built about a memory in them. And it wasn't just supposed to be here. It was always supposed to be here. Because they were never, ever to stop interceding and praying for the children of Yasrael. Daily, we ought to be going before Abiyah on the behalf of our Ak and our Kohen. Daily. Not just when trouble arises, we're like, oh boy, all kind of trouble is on the horizon, we better start praying. No, we're supposed to pray continually because that's what we've been given to do. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Once again, let us never forget our responsibility to constantly pray for our people, the children of Yasrael. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Come on, put your hands together. Why it's important that wherever we are, whether we're in with somebody or by ourselves, that we always take that time to pray, no matter what. No matter if your sanctuary is in your home or you go to one, always make sure you go in there. And the first thing you do after you've given thanks to Abba Yah, ask Him to keep us as a people and bring us as a people to unity,
Right.
to unify, and to be conscious of one another. One of the things that we need to always remember, that when one rejoices, we all should rejoice.
That's right.
And when one is sad, we should all be sad. We ought to be connected in the Ruach, that we feel one another, even though we may not know one another. May say, you know what, I woke up this morning and I just didn't feel like myself today. Well, sometimes you want to question, well, Abba Yah, is it that you are allowing me to feel my Cody's burden? Are you allowing me to feel, especially when I've been saying, unite us, am I feeling something that somebody else may be carrying in the Mishpachah? And pray until you pray and feel the release. Because you don't ever know. We sometimes tend to think, when we wake up and we just ain't feeling them, we ain't hitting on all 4, all 8, that, this has to be the devil. Discernment is important.
That's
Because especially when we are praying, make us a God. How can we be a God when really we don't even know how to begin to really intercede for one another, because we won't even allow ourselves to feel one another.
Right.
And you can feel one another. You can feel when a person is down in their ruach. You can feel, and you ain't got to be where they are.
That's right.
Because we're supposed to be close-knit. And when you wake up like that, always don't just cast it aside, pray. Because you don't ever know. You may never hear the testimony, and then Abba Yah may allow you to hear somebody say, you know what, today I just felt so down in my ruach. But you know what, later on that day, I felt so much better.
That's right.
Because you don't ever know who you're interceding for. You don't ever know who you may be praying for on that day. So never ever just dismiss a feeling and say, that's just a feeling. Pray until you know you've gotten a breakthrough. Because you never know who you're praying for. Once again, I believe that is a means for us to be connected.
That's right.
Because we are supposed to feel one another. We're supposed to rejoice with one another. So once again, keep your head up, keep your shoulders squared, and keep your heart and your feet in and upon the Torah, because you can't go wrong. And always, always remain encouraged. I told you here at Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Great Belief Ministries, you have Mishpachah here. We may not be where you are, but we are praying with you and we're praying for you. Never ever believe that there is no prayer or no intercession being made. We are interceding on your behalf. May not know everything you're going through and dealing with, but we do know this much, that you are Abba Yah's. And because you are His, you belong to the Mishpachah. And we all are a part of that. And we are responsible for interceding for one another. Once again, we humble you and we pray that your Sabbath rest will be great and it will be filled with the prosperity of Abba Yah on this Sabbath. Once again, I am Prophetess Sabrina Brown, also Mora 777, and I am the leader of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Great Belief Ministries, located in South Carolina. I want you to remember here at Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Great Belief Ministries, this is the place where the Torah does the body excellent. Until next time, may Abba Yah Baruch Atah and keep you in His shalom until we meet again. Also, I want you to remember that you've been touched by Champion TV, a place where the champions reside.